morning, this is Trie, and this is Morning Mind Dump. Good morning, beautiful minds. Welcome back to another episode of Morning Mind Dump with Trie, where we dive deep into questions that keep our brains buzzing over our morning coffee. And I am your host, Trie. Today we're going to be exploring security. What does that really mean to be or feel secure? Is it having a job, a cozy apartment, maybe a house with white picket fence, or perhaps a loving partner by your side? You know, society often paints this picture of security as a checklist of tangible things. But what if I told you that true security isn't about what you have around you, but it's inside you? I know. You might disagree with me, and that's fine, because we do have our own opinions, right? But this podcast is about my perspective, and again, in the future, I will have guests on that we can actually share different perspectives, and you may not share my perspective, and that's okay. But anyway, I woke up this morning hearing this little voice inside my head asking me, what are you doing here? And it just kept repeating, and I'm like, okay, am I really supposed to answer this? Like, what am I doing here? Am I doing here sleeping in my car at the beach? What am I doing here, like, in general, like questioning my purpose? I don't know why this was like going in my head constantly. I don't know why. Or why other people question why I'm doing things in a non-conventional way. A friend recently asked me if I was ashamed of telling people that I was homeless or jobless. It's not about shame. It's about redefining what these terms mean. You know, I live in my car. But does that make me homeless? Because I believe that home is where your heart is, and so I live everywhere, right? And all my things are in my car. Yes, I sleep there. And I feel a sense of security in my lifestyle. I feel safe. What else? Yeah, you know, like plenty of people live in RVs and lead a mobile lifestyle, but you wouldn't call them homeless. I guess it's about redefining security on our own terms. Yes, times have changed, and long ago people thought that if you lived in your car, you were homeless. But this is a different perspective. I think differently, you know. Imagine somebody who has all those markers of security: steady job, a house, a partner, you know, and on the surface they seem secure, right? But like, what happens if suddenly that job security disappears or the relationship ends? If their sense of security was tied solely to those external factors, they might find themselves feeling lost and insecure despite having everything else that society says they should have. A friend of mine recently confided in me and said that he felt like a failure because he had no place to call home. And he was deeply dependent on his partner, and then they broke up, and now he feels lost. So it's a life altering event, and you're going to start questioning your life. I know, because that's what happened when I got a divorce. I felt secure having a partner, having somebody that I like as a backup for emotionally and financially, and like that sense of security for me at the time was dependent on another person. And since then, my views have changed, and I know that I shouldn't depend on anybody else for that kind of security. Because, like my friend, I was not prepared for the situation, and it was devastating. I didn't have savings, and I relied heavily on my ex-husband for financially. I could pay my part of the bill, but I obviously couldn't pay for everything. And we live in a society where we can't survive on just one single income. We can, but it's challenging. And it makes us more dependent on each other. And that's codependency. And that's another thing that I've been learning to work on, is we really need to take care of ourselves. And self-love, self-care, working on ourselves, being the best people that we can be before we're in a relationship. And if something devastated, they pass away, or you break up, or you get divorced, these things, we've depended on the other person to fulfill that sense of security. So we might not always have that control over our financial circumstances. We do have control over our emotional resilience and how we value ourselves, right? And how we're going to react to these situations when they happen, if they happen. So back to homelessness. What does it mean to you? Is it the lack of a permanent address, or something deeper like lack of community or support? You can flip that question, and can having a home and a job ensure true security if you're emotionally unstable or lack a support system? We could dive even deeper, and security is not about having things, right? It's about feeling grounded. Even when you have a permanent address, some people feel homeless in their hearts. Living a mobile lifestyle doesn't equate to homelessness if you have a sense of purpose and community. And for the most part, I do. And there are times where I don't feel that way. I think it fluctuates on my mood and who I'm around. So we can think about security from a different angle. Imagine you're on a tightrope, and the security and safety that you feel like the safety net below you. Is that your security, or is it your ability to balance? Being one of those tightrope walkers, or I don't know what they call rope walker. They don't rely on. They rely on their confidence, right? Because some of those rope walkers that like throw their rope across like mountain to mountain, they have no safety net. They're just trusting their intuition and their ability. And I think security in our daily lives should be treated the same way. So I really am hoping that we get some feedback. So I'm going to ask a couple questions that might make you laugh, might make you think, or it might make you uncomfortable. And you can share these answers to these questions with me through the review or comment on a post. Or you can just think of these questions on your own and maybe journal it. Because growth comes from stepping out of our own comfort zone, right? So let's get curious and ask some questions. Questions that I'm going to probably put in my journal. Like, what does security mean to you personally? Take a moment and think about it. Is it financial stability? Is it emotional support? Is it a sense of belonging, or is it something else completely different? Security means different things to different people. And you shouldn't compare your security with anybody else either. That's why it's important to just decipher what security, the definition of security, to you, and what are the things that make you feel secure. And then you can ask yourself, how much of your sense of security comes from external sources versus internal ones? Like, are you relying on that job, the house, the partner to feel secure? Or do you find a sense of security within yourself no matter where you are, what circumstances? I think I'm still learning that process, especially gaining confidence in myself and in my intuition and my decision making, and that gives me a sense of security. And yeah. And here's another one. Can you remember a time when you felt secure but didn't have all those external markers that society tells us we need? Like, what was different at that time? Maybe it was the freedom of being on the road with friends and traveling with Twiddle on tour. Or the joy of creating some art, without worrying about what was the outcome, and instead of crimpling it up in a ball and throwing it away. Like, Yeah, we can flip this too. Think of a time when you had all of those external markers, but you still felt insecure. Like, what was missing? Maybe it was a sense of purpose, or no connection, or, lack of trust in yourself, or lack of trust in somebody else. My final question is, what steps can you take to build a sense of security from within? Is it through self-care, pursuing passions, building relationships, or maybe just even being kinder to yourself? Because we forget. We put all this passion towards somebody else, and we forget to put the same passion for ourselves. And it's okay. You can still be there for your friends, but if you feel like, oh my god, I just spent 3 hours talking to my friend when I could have been doing something else for myself, you might want to rethink that. I don't know. I just think that we need to remember that we have beautiful minds, and security isn't just about having things. It's about feeling grounded, confident, at peace with who you are. So I hope you go throughout your day and think about where your sense of security comes from and how you can nurture it from inside out. Thanks for tuning in to Morning Mind Dump with Trie. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share with somebody who could use a little morning mindset boost. And don't forget to tune in next time, as I think I'm going to dive into some practical and powerful ways to ground yourself. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, keep finding that inner balance. I love you much. Big hugs. Bye.